This self-defense book incorporates combat jujitsu and street boxing. Hi guys, my name is Joe, and welcome to Fighting Words, the martial arts library. On this channel I review martial arts books and talk about other martial arts related subjects. So the subject for today's review is going to be Street Tough, written by Phil Giles and published in 2004. Mr. Giles' background includes a number of both Oriental and Occidental martial arts, including boxing, karate, and traditional jiu-jitsu, as well as stick fighting and knife fighting. In his intro, he says that this particular street tough system is based on combat jiu-jitsu, pugilism, like bare knuckle, pre-Queensberry boxing, as well as grappling, which is sort of a generic term at this point. In Chapter 1, he begins by introducing basic principles of combat, including things like momentum, balance, and leverage. We get a brief chart describing some weak points of the human body. He will give a little bit of detail like, these are mostly pain points, these points are fatal. Chapter 1 also includes a number of upright grappling drills. This includes both proactive and reactive shots or tackles. So a proactive shot is, to lead with a punch or something like that to get the opponent to raise their guard and then shoot under their arms and tackle them. A reactive one is waiting for them to throw a punch or kick at you and then shooting in as they, make themselves vulnerable to the takedown. And then he goes over a wealth of clinch work. This includes like understanding some basic clinch positions, as well as drills for clinching against a wall. And that itself includes sweeps and takedowns to do while you have your opponent pressed against the wall. Chapter 2 gets into the street boxing section. And on this, we begin with stance, as you would imagine. And what's interesting to me is that he prefers a dominant hand lead, although he prefers to have the lead hand generally extended. In addition to stance, he also goes over power generation, and a lot of this will be familiar with people who study old school pugilism, talking about the power line that Dempsey referred to. And then he goes over the various weapons, and these include straight punches with the lead and the rear hand. Interestingly to me, these are vertical in nature. He also includes an eye gouge, a power slap, and a headbutt. And this section will also include various drills, both solo and partner, and a few on various pieces of equipment for you to do in order to refine these tools. After that, we get into Chapter 3, which focuses more on the defensive side of street boxing. This includes footwork as well as your basic evasions from boxing, some handwork like catches and parries. Interestingly, he goes old school again and includes techniques from Jim Driscoll, including Driscoll parries, which are extended parries that go inside a hook, and Driscoll bridges, which run alongside a straight punch along the outside of their forearm. Chapter 4 is on ground fighting, and he begins this by pointing out the situations where ground fighting might not be your best option, but then begins to go into how to use ground fighting in a street situation. He begins by introducing a few top position variations like low mount, high mount, what he refers to as a cross chest, we might refer to it as a scarf hold or a keisugatame. He also has a position he calls cross body, which would normally be called side control in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu circles. He also discusses the usage and has a few drills for things like closed guard, open guard, and knee on belly position. The knee on belly stuff really revolves around mobility more than anything else. Also included in this section, when he's going over these drills for these various positions, he's including a lot in the way of offense. And some of it would be offense that you might find in a sport setting, like a guillotine choke, which you can find in things like mixed martial arts and grappling. But he will also include things like, fish hooking, headbutts, biting, things like that. It was a little bit of a throwback to the early days of MMA. One of the techniques he shows is actually how to gouge into somebody's eye with your chin, which actually showed up in some of the early events. Following that is a section on fighting back against a standing opponent when you are on the ground, and this will include things like sweeps and takedowns. And he finishes up pretty much the book, the exception of a few appendices, on kicks and stomps to a downed opponent, where you want to target them. This also includes a few drills. The actual final part of the book is an appendix talking about the importance of running and how to develop a running program. As far as the pros go, I think if you are someone who is familiar with a combat sports approach, this is something that can easily be layered on top of that. So, one of the reasons I advocate for training combat sports as an avenue toward learning how to protect yourself is that you actually get to do stuff. You get to go for takedowns and throws and chokes and punches while defending against all of those things. And this approach can let you do all of those things and then go, okay, from here I can hold on to the guy's head and gouge with my chin if I want to, because it was in the book. I'm good at the grappling part, I can get that control, but now I can do this. As far as the cons go, it is a little unclear in some places on training protocol as well as the legality of some of the techniques. The author does make a point to note, don't do this unless it's a serious situation and your life is in danger, but he doesn't really provide any context for that. It sort of leaves it up to the reader. I'm not sure that that's the best idea. I think the book would have been helped by adding that sort of context. And as far as the drills go, I don't know how hard these guys are hitting each other. And definitely one thing we have learned since the book was published in 2004 is that taking too much cranial damage is bad for you in the long run. You can't do it every day. It's bad. And certainly people who are interested in self-defense, but, are not angry young men who are also trying to be professional fighters, probably aren't going to be interested in full contact fighting. I don't know if that's what he's recommending. Because again, the training protocols are a bit unclear. As far as recommendations go, I actually really like this book. I think if you have a background in sport martial arts, combat sports like, mixed martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, I think that, as I said, you can take this book and learn to sort of layer onto what some of the things that you might not get a whole lot of training in, and then you can grab a training part and say, okay, so this is what we're going to do for this situation. We're going to start in this position, but then we're going to see, if fish hooking is available or gouging or what have you. We're going to work on that. Could it stand alone? I think it kind of could. I think that there would be a danger. Again, there's not a whole lot in the way of safety in training mentioned in this book. So I would be concerned with people with little to no combat sports background picking up the book and going okay, so we really got to punch and kick and slam each other to learn how to defend ourselves, and we're going to start with that. That's something that you build up to. I am an advocate of hard contact drills and sparring if used sparingly and with proper safety measures involved. It's not bad if this is your only source of like self-defense and martial arts information, but I would highly recommend getting into a combat sports program so you can sort of understand those training protocols. So that's all I have for this week. Thank you for watching. If you have a suggestion for a book, or you would like to help support the channel, please consider donating to my Ko-fi account. A link to that will be in the description, and I'll see you around.